You wake up at noon with a heart that is racing for a finish line you haven't even approached yet. It is a strange, quiet weight. This tension between who you are and who you feel you were meant to become. You look at your phone, scrolling through the lives of people who seem to possess an endless reservoir of kinetic energy, and you feel a familiar, sharp pang of guilt. You have the ideas. You have the vision. You can see the empire, the art, or the life you want with such vivid clarity that it feels like you can almost touch it. And yet, the simple act of getting out of bed or sending a single email feels like trying to wade through deep, cold water. You have likely spent years calling yourself lazy. You have adopted it as a secondary name, a secret shame you carry into every room. You apologize for your lack of hustle, and you promise yourself that tomorrow will be the day the switch finally flips. But tomorrow comes, and the heaviness remains. You are ambitious in your mind, but paralyzed in your body. And you've begun to believe that these two parts of you are at war. You feel like a high-performance engine trapped in a frame that wasn't built to handle the heat. But what if I told you that this stillness isn't a defect? What if the reason you feel so stuck is not because you lack the will, but because your brain is functioning exactly as it was designed to? There is a quiet irony in the way we view ambition. We are taught that it is a loud, aggressive thing, a constant forward motion. But for many of us, ambition is actually a form of sensory processing. You aren't lazy. You are likely overstimulated by the very depth of your own potential. When you think of a goal, you don't just see the first step. You see the 1,000 steps that follow. You see the risks, the beauty, the possible failures, and the massive weight of the perfect outcome. To a sensitive, ambitious mind, a simple task isn't just a task. It is a representative of your entire future, and that is an exhausting way to live. The psychology of what we call laziness is often just a sophisticated form of protection. In neuroscience, we look at the concept of cortical arousal. Some people require a great deal of external stimulation just to feel awake, while others, perhaps people like you, are naturally tuned up high. For you, the world is already loud. Your thoughts are already fast. When you add the pressure of a grand ambition onto a nervous system that is already highly reactive, your brain performs a logical, albeit frustrating calculation. It shuts down to save you. It chooses the lazy path because the alternative feels like a total system overload. Imagine a man named George. He is sitting by a window, watching the rain blur the edges of the street lamps outside. He has a notebook in his lap, filled with the blueprints of a life he hasn't started yet. To an outsider, George is just sitting still. He looks idle. He looks like he's wasting time. But inside, George is running a marathon. He is navigating the intense gravity of his own expectations. He isn't resting. He is vibrating with the effort of trying to figure out how to move without breaking under the weight of his own dreams. He isn't avoiding work. He is avoiding the crushing feeling of not being enough. The transition from being a person who dreams to a person who acts is not a bridge built of iron and willpower, but rather a soft path, cleared of debris. George looks at his notebook again, but this time, he doesn't see a list of failures. He sees a map of a territory he has been trying to cross in the wrong shoes. He realizes that the world's obsession with hustle is a one-size-fits-all garment that has never quite fit his shoulders. The truth about the environment we inhabit is that it is often designed by the restless for the restless. Our offices, our social media feeds, and even our architecture are built to demand constant, frantic attention. For an ambitious person who processes the world deeply, this environment is not just distracting, it is draining. You find yourself in a state of chronic, low-grade fatigue because you are subconsciously fighting a world that is too loud, too bright, and too demanding of your internal resources. To move forward, you must stop trying to fix your character and start curating your space. You need to create pockets of silence where your ambition can breathe without being suffocated by the pressure of performance. This means acknowledging that your best work might not happen between 9 and 5, or in a room full of people, or under the glow of a fluorescent light. It means accepting that your laziness might actually be a profound need for deep, uninterrupted periods of contemplation. We are told that to be successful, we must be consistent, which usually translates to doing the same thing every day. But for the ambitious person who feels heavy and slow, consistency might look different. It might look like cycles of intense, quiet focus, followed by long periods of what looks like doing nothing. Think of the way a tide works. It isn't lazy when it recedes. It is gathering the energy required to return. If you can learn to trust your own ebb and flow, you will stop feeling like a failure during the quiet times. George stands up from his chair and walks to the kitchen. He decides to stop trying to change who he is and instead change where he stands. He realizes that if he simplifies his immediate surroundings, clearing the physical and digital clutter that triggers his freeze response, his mind naturally begins to reach for the work again. The ambition was never the problem. The friction was the problem. You must learn the art of low-friction living. If a task feels impossible, do not tell yourself to work harder. Ask yourself where the friction is. Is the laptop too far away? Is the room too cold? Is the goal too vague? When you remove the small physical barriers to entry, you find that the laziness often evaporates on its own. Your brain stops seeing the work as a threat and starts seeing it as a natural extension of your thoughts. The world will tell you that you are falling behind, but the world is often measuring the wrong things. It measures speed, but it rarely measures depth. It measures hours spent, but it rarely measures the quality of the soul poured into those hours. By choosing to work at your own pace, by honoring your need for stillness, and by being the quiet observer of your own life, you are not opting out of success. You are opting into a version of success that won't leave you hollow at the end of the day. George looks out at the world as the last bit of light fades. He knows he won't wake up tomorrow as a different person. He will still be sensitive. He will still be prone to that heavy, slow feeling in his chest. But he will no longer call it a flaw. He will see it as a signal to slow down, to simplify, and to move with intention rather than with force. He is finally ready to begin, not because he is finally disciplined, but because he is finally at peace with his own pace. You can put down the weight now. The race you've been losing was one you were never meant to run. There is a different path, one that starts exactly where you are in the quiet and moves at the speed of a heart that finally knows it is safe.